Hello! In previous video, we have created 3 tables in our MySQL database. If we go to MySQL workbench and go to MyDBOMS, to our project database, and if we go to the tables, you can see that we have now the TBL orders. We also have the TBL order items and TBL order payments. In normal situations, when we have our relational databases like MySQL or Microsoft SQL Server or a Microsoft Access database, we will leave the relational structures or the referential integrity to the database. So when we delete a record from a master detail table, for example TBL orders, when we delete an order, we want that the database delete for us all the order items and all the order payments that are related to this order. But I will show you how we can do with virtual forms when we don't have this feature that we have in relational databases, when we use, for example, Microsoft Excel workbook as a database source. So, in normal situation, we would create some relations between TBL orders and TBL order payments and TBL order and TBL order items. But as I have already mentioned, that I will show you what we can do and what virtual forms framework is allowing us to do in these situations when we don't have this opportunity to give to the database this task to do this for us. So, to create a master detail virtual form and use it from, for example, Microsoft Excel VBA or from other languages that support virtual forms framework, for example, C#, VB.NET, or maybe Java, Python, and others. We will go to our favorite development environment and go, in this example, into the Microsoft Excel, to the Developers tab, to the Visual Basic, and we will start our project so that we can go into the virtual form designer. Go and start your virtual form designer. Now we will go and create a new virtual form. Click on the new form and select the master table. In this case, we will select the TBL orders table from our MySQL database. Click on the TBL orders and press enter or click on select. And the virtual form designer has already populated the form caption. I will rename it so that we don't have in the form caption TBL orders. I will rename it to the orders. ID field name for our virtual form will be order ID. ID type will be automatic. ID field name is a numeric. And button group will be the default one, that is having the buttons refresh, new, edit, delete, filter, details, back and exit. For the master detail virtual form structure, the buttons details and back are crucial. I will show you in the next few minutes why this is crucial. Details and back button in our buttons group. Let's go and save our virtual form. Now the virtual form designer asks us if we want to add columns to the grid control of our form. We will click enter or click yes. We have 4 fields in our table. The order ID is already there, and the virtual form designer asks us if we want to add the 3 additional fields to our form. We will click on all the select all, or if we don't want any of the fields, we will unselect it, and when we are done here, we will click on the process. Okay, now the virtual form designer asks us if we want to add fields to the edit control. Of course we want. And now we can select what fields or which fields we want to include in our virtual form. We will include all the 3 fields. Click on the process. Okay. And now we have our virtual forms called orders. The internal virtual form name is VF5. This is important because with this virtual form name we call and we reference this form in our code so that we can open this form or so that we can communicate with the controls that are on this form. So we need to remember VF5. Let's exit the virtual form designer for now, and we will create in our main menu a new button, or I will copy paste the existing one. The customers copy paste. Let's position it. Let's rename it. Click on the button and call it orders. Okay. We can double click it, and we need to tell Excel or VBA what we want to do when we click on this command button 5. I will tell the virtual form control to open. So virtual form 1, show virtual form, and the virtual form internal name is VF5. Okay, we can save this and we can go and run our form or our project. Let's click on the orders, and here you can see that the virtual form is opened. It is having an edit control, it is having a grid control, it is having the buttons, but we don't have any records. Okay, we will add a new record for now. Order number, let's say 001. Order date, let's select today, and the customer ID, I will leave this blank for now. Save changes, yes. Now we have one order, and you can see that we have refresh, new, edit, delete, filter and exit button. We don't have the details and the back button because we have not specified the relationships between these orders and order items and order payments tables. So now that we have our form defined, and now that we see that our form is working, let's add relationships to the order payments and to the order items. We can do this by going into Virtual Form Designer. We can do this by right-clicking somewhere on the form and open Edit Control in Virtual Form Designer. And in our Virtual Form Designer, we know we need to go to the orders and to the relationships. I will collapse this Edit Control and now go to the relationships, click on it, and right click on relationships for the orders form. Click on the Add New Relationship, and the Virtual Form Designer is already populated for us the master table. It is saying to us that the master table is DBL orders and that the master field ID is order ID. And we need to specify the details table. And in our case, and in this case, the details table is DBL order items. Let's select it. Now we need to specify the details master ID. What does this mean? This is the relation This is the relationship to the master table. So in our details table, if we take a look in our MySQL workbench into the TBL order items, into the columns, we see that we have an order ID field. This order ID field is our relationship to the TBL orders table, so that we know that all the TBL order items that belongs to this TBL order. So we now go to the Virtual Form Designer and say that the details master ID in our details table TBL order items is order ID. Caption, we will rename this to order items. And details ID field name, this is the primary key for the TBL order items. This is the unique field for this TBL order items table. We will click on this button and select the order item ID field. As you can see, when we have defined this table, we have defined that this field is the primary key for this table. So order items ID is the details ID field name for this relationship. Details ID field type, it will be automatically added because we have defined that this primary key is auto increment and it is a numeric field. Save changes, yes. And now the Virtual Form Designer is asking us if we want to add columns to our grid control. This means that we want to add a grid control and edit control to our details structure, so to our order items. We will click yes. And now it has found the product ID, the quantity and the price. The order items ID field and also the orders ID field is already added to the definitions for this form because we have defined that the order ID is a relation to our master table and that the order items ID field is a primary key for this edit and grid control. So we will add these three fields to our grid control. Okay, let's add fields to our edit control. It is asking us every time for the grid and for the edit control because in some situations we could skip some fields in grid control or we could skip some fields in edit control or add some fields that are not in edit control or add some fields that are not in the grid control. So it asks us every time. Click on the yes and we will add these three fields to the edit control. Okay, and if we now go and see into the relationships, expand this tree node and click on the order items and expand these order items, you can see that we also have here a grid control that is having our fields and that we also have an edit control. So we have orders that is having the grid control and the fields for this grid control, and we have also for these orders edit control and the fields for this edit control, and also in the relationship we have for the relationship order items the grid and edit control with the fields. We will also add, I will collapse this, we will also add another relation. It will be a relationship to the not order items because we already have it, but we will add order payments while we are here. Add new relationship, okay. Master table is the TBL orders, master field ID is the order ID, details table, we will select the TBL order payments. Details master ID, this is the relationship to the master table. In our details table named TBL order payments, we have also called this field. We should have an order ID field here in the order payments, but we don't have it. So we need to create one. So we need to create the relation to our master table. I have forgot, sorry about this. So we will go and create this order ID field. Let's go TBL order items. Let's see what the field properties are. Order ID, it is an integer. Okay, let's go to the TBL order payments. You can see that we have an order payment ID. This is the primary key. Payment date and amount, but we don't have the field that is the relationship to our orders. So we will create one. Right click on TBL order payments and let's alter table. And we will add new field that we will call order ID. It will be an integer. And also we will say that this cannot be null. Let's go and apply the changes. Save the changes to the database. Okay. Let's exit this and let's refresh. TBL order payments. We have here order ID field. Okay, let's minimize this. Let's cancel this in the virtual form designer and let's go again and click on the details master ID. And here we go. And here we have our order ID field. That is the relationship to our orders table. Let's select it. Caption, we will rename this from TBL order payments to order payments. Details ID field name. This is the primary key of this table. This is the order payment ID for the table TBL order payments. Details ID type, it is automatically added because it is an auto increment field and the field type is numeric. And let's add columns to the grid control. Yes. Process. Okay. Let's add fields to the edit control. Process. Okay. And now in the relationships for the orders form, we have order payments and order items. And both have an ordinal of 1. If we want to tell the virtual form control that we want first display the order items, we will leave this ordinal to 001 and order payments we will change to 002. Let's save it. No and no. Now we can see that it will first display the order items and then the order payments. Let's see this in action in our form. Let's exit the virtual form designer. Let's exit our form and let's reopen the orders form. Because we have one order, now we have the details button here displayed. If we can click on the details, or we can also click here down under on the order items, and the new section has opened that where we can see our order items, or we can also see our order payments. If we add a new order item, click on the order items and let's add a new product ID, let's say 1, quantity 1 and price 10. And we now have one order items for our order. If we click on the order payments, we can add new payment. Payment date, let's say today. and amount, let's say 20. Okay, save changes, yes. Now we have one order item and one order payment. If we want to go back, we can simply click on the back button or simply click on the escape key. And now we have our orders. We now only have one order. Let's add one more. Order number, let's say 002. Order date, let's add some date. Okay, customer ID, let's say 2. Save changes, yes. Now we have 2 orders. This first order is having order items and order payments. If we go back, this order number 2, is not having any order items on any order payments. If you want to display how many order items or order payments are there for an order, we can also do this. We can do this by going into the VBA. Let's go into our code, view code, and we will tell the virtual form in the user form initialization event that we want that the VF1 control, we have a property of the virtual form control called relations show count. We can select this. So VF1 dot relations show count is equal to true. The default value is false. And when we now go and save and run our project, click on the orders. Now you can see that we have account number right here on the order items and order payments. If we click on this order, we have 0 order items and 0 order payments, but for the order 1, we have 1 order item and 1 order payment. This relationship's show count is equal to false by default is because when we have some data sources that are not optimized to be a data source, a relational data source, the application can be very slow, very fast. When we have thousands or millions of records, if we have, for example, Microsoft Excel workbook as a data source, it is not recommended to show this relations show count, because when we change or when we display these relationships, it is going every time to the database and it is counting the number of records. But in the case when we use, for example, MySQL or Microsoft SQL Server or also Microsoft Access as a database, this should be a fast database transaction. So in the normal standard relational databases like MySQL or Microsoft SQL Server or Microsoft Access, you can turn this property to true. But when you use a Microsoft Excel workbook as a data source, I will suggest you not to use this, because your application will become very slow very fast. So now that you know how to use or how to create relationship, I will also tell you that in the standard situation, we can create details and sub-details. So in the virtual form framework, the maximum depth of the details is 3. So we can have orders, we can have details, and we can have sub-details. But if you need more, then you can create a button that will go and open another form where you will have another 3 levels. And if you need more levels, you can create another button that will go that will go another 3 levels into depth. At the beginning of this video, I have tell you that I will explain you why the details and the back button in the button groups is crucial when we create a master detail structure. If we will not have any of the orders, then the details button will not be shown. Virtual form control takes care of this. If we don't have any orders, the details button will not be shown. And if we go into the next level or into the details, you can see that the virtual form control is controlling the appearance of the buttons. So we have the back button, but we don't have any details because we didn't specify any relationship on the order items. So if we click on back, now we have the details. If we click on the details, I hope you understand what I want to tell you. So this is it for now. This is how you can create the master detail structure.